The conflict in Ukraine has brought to worldwide attention the use of personal camouflage suits during regular infantry operations. Additionally, thermal optics are widely adopted for both spotting and direct engagements due to their immense effectiveness. In this video, I will try to see if these leaf suits provide an advantage against thermal imaging devices. As we know, they can be extremely effective at concealing an individual from the human eyes.
We're gonna do a baseline first. I'm wearing a plate carrier helmet, combat shirt and gloves. Try to get a decent baseline, and we're gonna go in distance increments. I'm gonna be maybe 20-ish feet in front of the camera, then push back to like 50, and then go even further to 100. And I think that's gonna be a decent test based on the resolution of the device itself. So for this test, DNT sent the Optic over for review and usage, long-term usage. If you're interested, at the end of the test, I'm gonna talk about the details of the Optic itself and tell you guys a bit more about it.
So a couple disclaimers to get out of the way. First of all, the thermal scope has a 3x base magnification, so that's something to keep in mind when looking at this footage. Second of all, this is more of a funny one, but I was trying to be really careful in my movement because in some of these clips I wasn't wearing my glasses and the ground is an actual minefield of cactuses, so I was really trying not to step off any of them or damage any of the environment. But I'm just trying to moving around, and as you can see, the contrast of my body is pretty significant. And obviously when I go behind solid vegetation, then of course there's no cheating physics, right? You're not gonna see me anymore. But as soon as I start moving, then it becomes pretty obvious where I am. You're gonna see I disappear for a second. That's a ditch that I'm trying to cross, so don't worry about that. But one thing to note is that obviously PPE like body armor and helmets obviously really help because you know, they contain materials that do a good job at not letting heat absorption into them, such as the ballistic helmet and plates. And obviously you're gonna see the contrast of those things there. But this is a pretty good baseline. It really can show you what a person looks like under thermal in the middle of the desert.
This is a SOKL leaf suit. It's made in Russia. It's in what they call granite camo, which is pretty much just ATAX AU. And again, I'm gonna go back and do a visual representation of what it would look like. Obviously, with the hood and everything.
So to give you an idea of what it looks like up close, as you can see, the suit already does a good job at creating contrast, which, as you will see, is pretty important. Obviously, being 3D fabric that sticks out of your body, those pieces of fabric being distant from your body are gonna be cooler than what's close to your skin, creating that contrast. And I want you guys to see here, I try my best to stand still and take the hood off that hides my face really well actually. But you know, once you lay and kind of stay still, it would be very difficult if you don't know where you're looking to see where a person is. It wouldn't pop out at you immediately, in my opinion. Of course, as I'm moving, it's everything is very noticeable. This suit is not designed for this specific use case application, but I think that if used correctly, it can definitely help. I mean, it's not going to be your gold ticket solution. It is very effective visually, as you guys can hopefully see in the left hand side of the footage. But if you're not careful how you move, then you're really going to have a bad time. That said, knowing this information and knowing the dynamics of things and how to place yourself, how to maneuver your environment, it could definitely be used in your advantage.
So we got bonus item. My friend sent me this phantom leaf gnome cape type of thing. He said it could be good against thermal. I have no idea. We'll try it real quick. We'll do again a little visual one to see how it blends in, even though it's not really meant for this type of environment, but I still have the SOKL pants. And then from there, we'll see what it looks like under thermal.
This cape thing, surprisingly effective, both visually, which I would have never guessed, and on the thermal spectrum. Phantom Leaf is a really cool camo, very underrated. It blends pretty well in an environment that it's clearly not meant for, which is a little impressive. But being a cape, it is inherently distanced to your body since it's laying on top of my plate carrier and my plate bag. Therefore, there's an air gap between my body and the cape, which is very essential in helping with thermal signature since air is such a poor conductor. So I didn't go too in depth in this clip, but hopefully it's good enough for you to guys enjoy and get an idea. So I pulled out some old notes to bring some context into this and how thermal radiation and heat actually works. So pretty much, I see a lot of videos saying, you hold an umbrella in front of your body and the thermal can see you as a magic. Like, no, it's not. Basically, when we're talking about thermal, the way heat acts, as you can see, you're gonna come from a source, which, let's say this case, the fluid is your body. It's a source of heat. And it's gonna travel through a medium. And in this case, the medium being 3 different material given by the different coefficients. Now, that could be your different layer of clothing and your leaf suit, and all of them are gonna have, well, in our case, very similar coefficient because they're fabric-based, but they're gonna conduct the heat in a different way, and then it's finally gonna hit ambient air, or in this case, it's a cold fluid, and that's gonna be like a biggest insulator and heat dissipator. And the way you would visualize this is pretty much by drawing a circuit, right? So you're gonna have direct convection between the heat source and your conductive material, and then conduction is what's gonna transfer the heat directly through the material, and then it's finally gonna go again to convection to the ambient air. So air is a very good insulator and heat has a hard time traveling to it, obviously. So that's what you're seeing, right? And especially in a leaf suit case, you have fabric sticking out further away from you. And in that case, you look at the equation and, length plays a really big part of it in it too, right? Because that's what you're dividing. So the tips of the leaves are gonna be much colder, right? Therefore providing a lot more contrast, which is helpful into concealment. But yeah, so this is a bit of context. It's actually been years since I looked at this stuff and just trying to catch up on it, but anyway.
So guys, that was a test. I really won't know until I see the footage. I'm out here recording the video, and maybe it's a bullshit test. Maybe it gives you something useful. Maybe it gives me something useful. I don't know yet. But DNT sent the Optic and they just told me, keep it, have fun with it, because this is actually gonna go on the BB GAT for real player engagement at Milsom West. I'm very excited to try it. And I will say so far, I am quite happy with the performance of it. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about it. So this is one of their entry-level Optic, which I think is pretty much a really good starting point for anybody that, like me, wants to use it for airsoft or things like that, not super serious situation. But it is quite a capable Optic and it has a lot of good feature built into it. You can use it as a standalone Optic, as a radical you can zero, but you can also use it as a thermal clip-on. So when you buy it, it actually comes with a couple different mounts, one being a cantilever direct Optic mount and then a QD mount. And so you can use it how you want it. I would say the QD mount is actually really good for airsoft since nobody cares about zero, there's no recoil. So you can mount it on an airsoft gun, they take it off and then use it for spotting if you're not actually using the gun. This is the 265 resolution, which is, it's a lower resolution optic, but it's still gonna be good for between 100, 200 meters engagement type of environment, which obviously is plenty for airsoft, but maybe it depends what you're doing, it might not be enough. So they have higher end model, of course, they're gonna cost more. This comes under $1,000, which in the optics field at this time of the in period, it's kind of where you end up for kind of the entry level type of optics. But also what I like is the recording features. You know, you can seamlessly record video either manually, or they have a recoil activated mode. If you, I guess if you do hunting clips or anything like that, it could be useful. And then it has a standby mode, which is cool. Like you turn it on and it boots up. Then you click it once and it kind of goes to sleep, and then you click it again, it comes back on kind of almost instantly. So that's good for battery saving and all. So anyway, this optic, we'll see. At the end of the day, this is just a fun video that I wanted to do with the Russian leaf suit, because it's just something different out in the desert. I don't think anybody's done that before, but I'm gonna definitely put it to more of a test, engaging real simulated threats in the field and using it for spotting. The next AO I'll be at is decently flat with decently long eyesights, so something like that might come in handy. We'll see. I'm excited. This will be fun. It'll be really fun. I see videos of other guys in Milson West using thermal to engage. It's a lot of fun. It's very OP, I will say. It's very difficult to hide from these things unless obviously you're behind solid cover concealment, and at that point it's not magic. You're not going to be able to hide from it. There is solutions out there, whether it's DIY, you know, there's camera, you can hide behind camera netting, but again, you're not cheating physics there. You just can't see through it. But there's also like wearable solutions that are super expensive, super hand. I don't get into that. I don't care. I don't know anything about it. I'm not gonna get it. It's not that big of a deal. This is not the channel where like, oh yeah, if you're not thermal, you're gonna die. If you don't know how to defend for thermal, you're gonna die. No, the chances of that happening is like minuscule. This is for fun. We're gonna shoot some fools at airsoft with this, and that's about it. So yeah, if you're interested, check it out on DNT, and stay tuned for more updates on this. And okay, stopped it there.